Hello everyone, we are on to the finishing sequence of this Ashtanga condensed primary series that we've been going through over the past few sessions. Now, going through these last 7 postures, there are a couple of postures that are, I would say, a little bit more technical. You've got your feet above your head, it requires a little bit more balance, and for some people it may feel out of reach. Like any of the postures, any of the classes and things that we do on the Soul Vision platform, there's no pressure to do them. Now, if you feel like you want to build up something like the headstand, I've actually got a 28-day program that helps you go through and build up the confidence and the strength to be able to go into a headstand on the body section on the Soul Vision platform. So you maybe want to go to that and start building it, and then put it into this Ashtanga sequence when you feel comfortable. One thing that you will need close by, which is pretty easy for most people's reality, is you need a wall close by, because we're going to be going between the wall and the mat in this session, just to make it a more of a safer environment. You'll know what I mean when we get to it. Now, before we start the session, I want you to make sure that you are thoroughly warmed up. There's a lot of back body being used, things like the plow, where you need to have a lot of flexibility through your back body before you start doing it. One, because it makes you feel very restricted in certain movements, and also for safety as well. So make sure, if anything, you go to the Ashtanga sun salutations, go through that little sequence of 3 sun salutation A's, 3 sun salutation B's, and if you can, maybe go through the standing sequence and maybe even the ground sequence before going on to this class. So make sure the body's nice and warm. Now, just in case people do jump into it, not too warmed up, which you should be, I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm going to do some additional stretches to start off, just stretching through the back of the body, stretching through the back of the head, but make sure you are warm. I'll meet you on the mat. Let's do this. Okay, so down in this position now, you're in your Dandasana, traditional position where we started our ground postures, if you can remember that. Taking the hands down by the sides, drawing the shoulders back, and all I want you to do from this point is bring your chin to your chest. Bring the head up towards the sky, squeeze the jaw, chin down to the chest. And start breathing in as you come up, breathing out as you come down. Let's start warming up through this back body. We're even doing it now, stretching through the back of the neck. We'll create a deeper stretch in a second. Make sure you are warm. Hands up into the sky, reach up with both hands and forward fold. Try and reach as far as you can, so flat back. As soon as you feel your hamstrings come on, then breathe out. Take your hands to the mat, slide them down towards the hips, and then grow up towards the sky. Hands reaching up and down. I'm going to do this 10 times. 2, 3, 4. Remember, I took your chin into your chest as you do this. Feet are active as well. 5, get a bigger stretch. 6, 7, 3 more. 8, 9. So reach a little bit further on every single forward fold that you do. And then last one, reaching up into the sky, forward fold, grab onto the big toes. You'll remember this posture when we did the ground series, or the ground postures. Do 5 breaths here, 5 breaths. So push the back of the knees into the floor. One last breath. And then come up towards the top. Let's do a final couple of stretches through the back of the head. So you interlink the fingers, place them round the back of the head like so, and then you're going to tuck the chin into the chest. Trying to keep the rest of the body nice and upright. So you're just targeting the neck at the moment. The reason for this is when we go into things like the all-in pose, the shoulder stand, and also the plow pose, that is the position of your head. It's not where the whole body's rounded off. So you have to have that flexibility through the back of your neck to be able to do these postures. Bring the chin into the chest. Every time you exhale, let the chin drop a little further. Okay, from there, you've got your chin down. I want you to rotate your head to the right slightly. You should feel that. Take a stretch down through the right-hand side of the neck. Back into the center, twist it round towards the left-hand side. Hello. Remember, don't slump through the spine. Very easy to start coming forwards here. Come back into the center. Open up the chest again. So shoulders back, shoulders back. Take your hands down by your sides. Are you ready now? Maybe going into some of these more difficult postures. Like I said before, you don't have to do them if you feel like things are unsafe. But one thing that we're going to do is we're going to move over towards this wall now. And we're going to base these next three postures around that space. So shift your mat over towards the wall and let's crack on. So hopefully you're near the wall now. If you're not, get over to that wall, push your mat in as close as you possibly can to the wall. And then we've got our next three postures that are based around this. Now, when choosing a wall, I wouldn't choose it where I am now. I'm pretty confident in these postures. What I would say is that try not to have things to either side. You have a clear blank wall where you can, if you need to, bail out towards the left or the right hand side for a couple of the different postures. And like I said before, you don't need to do these postures if you don't feel comfortable. But the wall is our friend to start off with, and we could have a bit of a progression here where once you feel comfortable doing these postures with the wall, then you can come into the middle of the room and have someone spot you, one of your friends or a teacher. That'll be the best way, a yoga teacher showing you, and then go it alone. But this posture that we're going into first is our shoulder stand or our all-in pose. I'm going to show you it first, and then once I've shown you it, I'm going to give you a few pointers of what the posture looks like and then how to get into it as best as you possibly can. Okay, here we go. So as you can see there, hopefully you can see my feet. If not, the toes are pointed. And that's why you need the flexibility for your neck, because if you look at my body, pretty much a straight line. So my head is like this, and my whole rest of my body is a direct line upwards. Now, that may not be achievable for everyone. If you're just starting off with the shoulder stand, a good way to get into it, I'm going to show you now. So what I want you to do is come in, the tiniest of gaps in between the top of your head and the wall. And this is for a safety net. I'm going to show you why. So what we can do here is, rather than if you're in the middle of the room, you've got this fear of your feet coming over the top, the wall's stopping you from there. Now to get into it, I'll pull my knees into your chest, taking your hands onto your bum. If you've got the ab strength, you can pop up your bum and your lower back, keeping the knees bent. You're walking your hands, it's actually up your back, walking your hands up your back and taking a flat palm here. That can be your first level of your shoulder stand here. And then you start to extend everything through. Keeping the ankles nice and compact, the knees compact. You can start extending the legs.
Okay, if you feel, this is where most people are when they first do a shoulder stand, is the hips are too far to the front, okay, when they need to be pressed through. But that again depends on the flexibility through the back of your body and your neck. So this could be the first one, is pointing the toes, hips are a little bit further forwards towards the front of your mat, and you've got that support of the wall there. Then over time, you walk your hands a little further up and push your hips further towards the wall, and then bring your feet over your hips. You keep walking up until you get that straight line. So you're holding there for 3 breaths. So you maybe want to know before coming into it how to get down. You do the opposite. Bend the knees, slowly lower the bum back down towards the floor. Okay, we'll go into it, holding for 3. First one, maybe being here where I showed you before. Maybe being here. Maybe being a full shoulder stand for 3 breaths. And you're looking at my position of my arm, it's the back of my tricep, the back of my arm's there, and I've actually got a flat back, flat palms on the back of my body where I've got those hands in. So there's your all limb pose using the wall. The plow pose, in essence, is a little bit easier because you're actually just putting your feet over the top. This can be quite a worrying thing for a lot of people, and they feel really dodgy doing it, is sending the feet straight over the top. I'm going to show you the plow pose now without the bent knee position. And I'm actually going to get into it after being in your shoulder stand or your all limb pose that I've just shown you. Okay, so there's your plow pose. Does that look dodgy to you? If it does, then obviously I've got my feet on the floor there. When I'm in plow pose, I've got that interlinked position with my hands behind my back. And you can see, it's probably feel for you, if you feel like you can't get your breath, then it's because you're probably tight through your back body, okay? Now, a good way to do this is shuffle yourself back towards the wall again. Just make sure you've got your feet on this time. And that's where we're coming up the same way as we did with the shoulder stand. Okay, I'm probably a little bit too close to the wall there, so just adjust how you need to, of what feels close to you, comfortable for you. Take your hands onto your lower back, and what you can do from here is, you can just test your flexibility by walking your feet down the wall. You'll get to a point where it feels like a really intense stretch. But you've got the support of the wall there if you need. If you want to, you can create that interlinked position with the hands behind the back. Palms are facing towards your body and you're straightening the arms out. And then over time, after every breath maybe, walking the feet a little further down. And you do 3 breaths here. So go into the plow pose that you know, what feels comfortable for you, and do 3 breaths. Could be here, okay, with the hands on the back. Could be about here. Could be with your hands interlinked. So see what it feels like. Let's do 2 more breaths there. And another one for that, because your stomach's sort of closed down, is I usually tell people breathe into the stomach most of the time, but maybe breathing into your chest is a good idea. Okay, so you're bringing the chest upwards into the breath upward into the chest rather than down into the stomach, and then you'll feel like you're not as restricted. Now, the next posture is just basically bending the knees. I'll show you again before we go into it. So coming into plow. Well, that looks weird, doesn't it? 3 breaths in that position, okay, with the bent knee position. You don't have to do that. Now, that's a bit more advanced again. I'd say that's a step up from the normal plow pose with the extended legs. If you don't want to do it, just stay in the position that you are and progress through that, and then you can start bringing the knees down. So if you want to, and you'll see me on when we put everything together, we go over the top, and knees down to the floor for 3 breaths. Okay, so we're going to go into the headstand now, which is the posture that people usually find the most daunting. Now, going into your headstand, like I said before, make sure you've got the area clear to the left and the right hand side. That just means that you can bail out of it if you want to. I'm going to bring you through a natural progression with the headstand. A great way of doing it again is against the wall, then bringing it into the center with a spotter or a teacher, and then doing it yourself. Now, this is really important. First thing is your hand position. In fact, I'm going to show you first of all, and then we'll go through it. So it's a head balance posture. First thing we need to do is have a strong foundation. So we need to interlink our fingers. Now we don't just have it fully interlinked like this. What I want you to do, I'm going to come a bit closer here so you can see. Hand position's really important because if you were doing it away from the wall, if you've got the fingers fully linked, that's fine. It's not fine. The bottom 2 fingers need to be overlapped. So you see my bottom 2 fingers, they're not crossed. They're overlapped here. That means if you go over the top, you've got some way of getting out of it. So make sure those bottom 2 fingers, you've got them overlapped, first of all. And then you're creating this triangle shape. So you're trying to create a nice base of support here. Try and bring yourself maybe about a head's length away from the mat. And then you're creating that tripod position. It's not like a tripod position, but you've got 3 points of contact. Mainly sort of elbows and then 2 hands. So that's my position of my hands on the floor with those 2 little fingers overlapped on each other. Then what I do is I take the crown of my head, and that's what's going to be in contact with the floor, not your forehead, not the back of your head, the crown of your head. It's a head balance position. So I place down that position, elbows are out towards the outsides of the mat. You've got the hands in the front. I pop the crown of my head into the floor, and this little sort of wall that I've created with my hands is like a backboard for my back of my head. So I put my head in there. The first thing for yourself could be here is just getting used to being on the top of your head. So tucking the toes and then creating a little bit of a shift of weight. So all I'm doing from here is I'm walking my knees up and my feet up, I'm tucking my toes and I'm lifting from here. So that could be your first phase, just holding here, and that's fine. Next phase, it could be bringing one heel towards your bum, and that helps with this pivot, because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to tilt my pelvis. I'm actually tilting my pelvis forwards. Takes a bit of strength as well to lever myself up. It's not about kicking yourself up, okay, and coming back down. It's about trying to have control, so bringing the left heel into the bum and trying to lift that right foot up. Now that's why the wall's here, like I've just shown you there. If you come over the top, you've got the wall there. And actually that can work as a nice aid for you to get used to being on your head. So let's go back. You're tucking your toes, lifting the knees up, bringing one heel to your bum, and trying to go as light as you can on that bottom foot. So you start to feel that balance on the head. Feeling the balance here. You can even have a kick over for confidence. Touching one foot on the wall and coming back down. Kicking up. Maybe trying it on the other side as well. And then we're going to bring both heels towards the bum.
Okay, so that's the next level up, and then we extend the legs, which will be the final position into headstand. Here we go. So we go up, one heel into the bum, lift up, both heels into the bum. That's your next level, with maybe just teetering about, bringing the feet to the wall. But if you can balance here, then you're sort of getting the fundamentals and the confidence to be able to be upside down. And then you can go one leg up, one heel in, next level, 2 feet up, pointing the toes, and you'll feel the weight. I'm shifting between my head, my elbows, so I'm not like just feeling like all my weight's on my elbows or all my weight's on my head. I'm squeezing, tucking through the pelvis, pinning the ankles together. Then if I want to come down, I can bend my knees and drop down to the floor. Or if coming down from that position, I can bring one knee in and then bring one extended leg down. Yeah, I mean, that's a quick one-stop shop way of showing you the headstand. It's quite a technical movement, and that's why I created that program that takes you through inversions such as your hand balance. It's not really hand balance. There's a little bit of hand balance. It's on your elbows as well, but I took you through the headstand on the specific program on the body section on the Soul Vision platform. So if you don't feel confident, build it up that way. Go to that, and it might be nice, you know, but being able to do something separately, work on a skill, and then bring it and integrate it into your practice, into this full Ashtanga condensed primary series. So there's our, it's actually 4 postures. So we did our shoulder stand or all-in pose, we did our plow, the 2 different versions, then we've done the headstand. Let's head back to the mat for the final 2 postures involving the lotus. Here we are back down on the mat, and we've got the last 2, I would say, active postures before we go into Shavasana, which is pretty much just lying down on your back in essence. And this posture, or the next 2 postures, are based around something called the lotus pose. And this can be out of reach for many people because of flexibility. Now, generally, the lack of flexibility originates through the front of the hip, maybe through the quads as well, and also through mainly the outer hip. So I'm going to show you a couple of stretches that are going to help you with this. I'm going to show you the lotus pose, and then we're going to go through actually being able to progress your lotus pose without just using those 2 stretches, which I'm going to show you in a second. Now, I'll show you the lotus pose just so you know what it looks like, and then I'll show you a couple of regressions that we can use. Here we go. Yeah, so you may be seeing this, a lotus pose. You've got your feet on top of the thighs. Very stressful position for many people. So if you can get into lotus pose, then happy days. And what I would do, I would just be there for, again, about 3 breaths. As you saw there, I had the left foot on top. This time, I'll just do it so you can see the other side. I've got the the left foot on top this time, before I had the right foot on top. And you're just sitting there for a few breaths, and you will get a big stretch depending on where you're tight. You're going to get it in different parts of your body. Now, for people who feel like that's out of reach, and I'm going to show you how to get into it in a second, then just sitting in a cross-leg position to start with can be a great way of creating flexibility through the lower limbs. Just sitting in a cross-leg position, maybe watching the TV for 10 minutes on a night time. You've got this traditional position of crossing your legs. The next way that I would do to try and progress into lotus is have your feet out to the front, bring one heel in towards the groin, and you're trying to get this knee down towards the floor. Now you can use that as a bit of mobilization already. If your knee's up here, then start to give it this little bit of a press. I'm going to show you those 2 key stretches, in a second that'll help you get into being able to get more movement with this in a second. But I'm just going to show you a bit of mobilization. And it may help a lot of people before they go into lotus pose as well. So pushing that knee up and down, and then bringing this right leg in front. Now coming into half lotus would just be bringing that right foot on top. And that again can be you. 3 breaths here. Swapping it over, so bringing the right foot in, giving that a push up and down. Bringing the left foot in, either towards the front, 3 breaths there, or 3 breaths if you can get it up on top from here. Okay, 3 breaths there. So you're into your half lotus pose because you haven't got the other foot hooked underneath. So there you've got it. You've got your lotus posture there. As I said, lotus, the full lotus is this. Okay, so 1 foot on top, pulling it all the way into the groin. That's where you would get it. So you're picking that right foot, I'm going to show you on this side. You're picking it up, pushing this right foot down, and then the left foot, you're literally pulling up and over. If you feel like you're getting pain through your knees, then it's probably a little bit too much for you at this moment in time, and you're lacking that flexibility through the outer hip and trying to get it through your knee, which ain't good for you. So pop yourself out of that. I'm going to show you a couple of stretches to help you with it. Pigeon being one. So with pigeon, you create this 90-degree angle on the front leg, 90-degree angle at the back. Pin this front leg down and then start to walk this left leg back. When you walk it back, you're trying to twist that left hip over the top and pushing your chest long here. I'm not going to spend too long on this because we need to finish off this finishing sequence, but if you want to pause it and do this and then go back to trying to go through some of those variations of the lotus pose, then go for it. Obviously do it on the other side, and then stretching off through the front of the hip. And be here, squeezing and tucking, pushing the hips down, holding there for, the longer the better, to be honest with you. Holding down, you want to make sure you're tucking underneath, pressing down. And then what you can do is, you can walk your hands round towards the left-hand side and grab onto this back foot. Walk the right hand back round, and then push the hip in towards the ground on the left-hand side. And again, holding there, maybe for a minute or so. What you can do, you can twist round here, if you want to increase it a bit more, and grab it with the other hand, and then twist up towards that front leg. At any point, I know I'm sending you in lots of different directions here, I'm going through it quickly, pause it, and give it a go. Alright, it's not about rushing through it, it's making sure that you can do it correctly. So again, doing that on both sides, that pigeon pose, it's like I suppose like a couch stretch to stretch off your quads and the front of the thighs. Now I'm going to show you the spring up pose, which is based around lotus. I'm actually going to use 2 of these blocks, with brand new blocks these, still got the film on, which is fully recyclable. Now, we can do this a couple of ways. I'm going to be holding in it for 3 breaths again. Now, I'm going to show you the different ways that you can do it. Now, if you can only get into a cross-leg position, you're bringing the blocks down so they're in line with your hips, and then you're pushing your bum up. What you're trying to do here is, you're trying to go as light on your feet as you can. Now, pulling the knees up. If you can pick the feet up, pick the feet up. Happy days, that's a lot of strength need there. If you don't need the blocks, you can even take the hands down and lift up from there, which is hard, as you can hear by my voice. So you can go cross-leg position. We're going to lift up here. I'll just show you the different variations. 3 breaths in this position with the left foot in front of the right. 3 the other way. Or you can do 3 in half lotus. Lifting up. It's hard to do because that foot's hanging down. 3 with the other foot on top. Or you can go 3 into your full lotus pose. So pick which one you want to do now. Commit to it, and then we'll go for it. So I'm going to pop these down, right down near my hip, push through my hands, and then lift up. Like I say, you don't need the blocks, but it gives you a bit more ground clearance. So you're pulling the knees up, using your lower abs,
3 breaths, 1 more breath, and then lower down from there. Pop the foot out and the other foot, and we are on to, for some, the nicest posture of them all, Shavasana. Lying upon your back, feet, corpse pose it's called. Heels to the corners of the mat, palms facing upwards, closing your eyes. And then you can, in this position, what I tell people to do after doing this series, the Ashtanga series, is just do a little body scan. Take a body scan from the top of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet, and just feel in the body. You'll feel this coursing of energy. You'll feel alive. It's a very energetic practice, but it connects you to the body, and it opens up a lot of different places. So just taking that little bit of a body scan at the end of the class opens the body up, releases all of this physical tension, which in turn releases the grip on the mind as well. And then you can get into usually a better meditative state. Meditation becomes deeper, and you feel more settled as a result. We're just going to finish this class here. It'll fade off, and you can stay here for a little bit longer if you want to. The next thing that we're going to do, in the next class, I'll shut up again, and in fact, we're not going into the next class straight away here. I'm going to go through this last little sequence, doing 3 breaths in each of the postures, these last 7 postures that we've got. And then into the next, and that'll be with me, without me talking. You can give it a go yourself if you want to, you feel confident. And then the next session that we'll do, we're going to pull everything together. Well done. See you soon.